Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Fronius webinar with today's topic, Fronius Storage and Energy Management Solutions. Yes, the team for today consists of me, Sandro. You can see me, so I turned on the webcam for the beginning. So I'm Sandro from Team Trainings and Education at Fronius International at Wels in Austria. And I'm very happy that on the other end of the line today there is Hans Pelzer, who is my team colleague from the trainings team, and he will support me today in the chat. So if you have got any any questions during the webinar, please directly address them to Hans. After the webinar, he will briefly unmute himself and give us the answers on your questions. Good. So far, so good. What's on the agenda for today? So today we really have a deep insight into our Fronius storage solutions. So on the one hand, I will show you all about the battery storage solutions which we are offering here at Fronius, which application types there are, so how you can integrate the storage into your PV installations. Also, I will point out the key importance of a Fronius smart meter. That's, of course, a basis if you want to have such storage energy management solution with Fronius. And of course, we will set a focus on the uniquely versatile all-in-one new hybrid inverter, the Fronius Gen 24 Plus device. And the second part, I will briefly give you an insight into our thermal storage solutions. So it's battery storage is of course a solution, but another solution would be thermal storage. And therefore we have got here from Fronius also a very, very good solution with our Fronius Ohmpilot. Good, I will turn quickly off my webcam so that you have the focus on the presentation. And before we start, I have also prepared a quick poll for you, which I want to address to you. So I want to ask you the following question. What's your experience with Fronius Gen 24 Plus storage solution so far? So that would be of high interest for me if you have already installed a Gen 24 Plus device with battery or without battery, or third possibility, did you just worked with our Fronius Hybrid? So that's our prior storage solution, which is still available, of course. Or don't you have any experience with Fronius storage solution so far? I see many of you voting, so nearly 50% have voted. I will just wait some seconds. Please give me your answers. That's of course of interest for me and for my colleagues. What's important. Okay, so thanks for the voting. Nearly all of you voted. I will just close the poll now and of course show you the results. So what's the outcome? Principally, around about 40% have just worked with the Fronius Hybrid, so the hybrid inverter out of the snap inverter series. 25% have installed a Gen 24 Plus without battery, so no battery experience so far, but experience with Gen 24 Plus. And the other percentages, so a very low percentage compared to the overall result, has already installed a Gen 24 Plus with battery, and around about 25% do not have any experience with our storage solutions so far. Thanks a lot. That's very important for us, also in order for the upcoming slides, so we know how deep we can go into the topics. Good. Basically, I want to begin with our vision of 24 hours of sun. So that's the overall vision we have got at Fronius at the solar energy department. So that's basically how we see the future. We want to make use 24 hours. We want to make the energy of the sun, 24 hours of sun, usable. So what can you see here on the picture? Of course, that's a very broad picture, I would say, with many different segments. And so there are commercial applications, of course, residential applications, off-grid, but also other renewable energy sources like wind power, hydropower, and so on. But we will definitely focus today on this area here, so on the residential scale, where we have got, of course, very good storage solutions with Fronius in a residential scale with our residential inverter solution. So that's the plan we have for today. We will focus on this point of our common vision. And that directly brings me into the topic. So what are the battery storage systems? So also deriving from the result of the poll, already 40% have already worked with this device. We can see here, that's the Fronius Hybrid. So that's an option we offer here from Fronius. The Hybrid is already available for some years, so it's out of the very well-known Fronius Snap inverter series, and it is our hybrid inverter solution for many years. So it's a very reliable device. It's available in the power classes 3 to 5 kilowatts AC output power, and you see 2 battery types with which we are fully compatible. And that's on the one hand, the new BYD Battery-Box Premium HVM. So therefore, we have the full compatibility with this existing battery, but also on the other hand, we are compatible with the LG Chem. That means the LG RESU 7H or 10H. That are the combinations which are possible with the Hybrid. And if you decide for the LG, you have one additional component, which is the checkbox 500 volts. That's a requirement for safety reasons if you want to install a Hybrid and a battery storage system with Fronius. That's with the Hybrid, and I think the much awaited or much appreciated device, which is finally out now. So we have had a very good market launch, market start of our new Gen 24 Plus device. And therefore, this is now our completion, I would say, in higher power classes. So actually the Gen 24 Plus is available now in the power classes 6, 8, and 10 kilowatts AC output power. That means higher power classes in the hybrid inverter section. And therefore, we are from now on, that means fully compatible with BYD Battery-Box Premium HVS and HVM, so for both types. And of course, again, a prerequisite is therefore a Fronius smart meter for any storage and energy management solution with Fronius. There will also come some news in the upcoming months, so I can give you just a little bit of outlook. Please stay tuned. We will, of course, very soon announce further compatibilities, but this is a very reliable system, and with BYD, we've got a very strong and reliable partnership, which underlines also a test I will show you later on. That is the combination matrix. So please be sure if you decide for a storage solution with the Gen 24 Plus, or at the beginning of next year also with the Gen 24 Plus, that not every battery type is fully compatible with the inverters. So there is a combination matrix. You see here what is possible. And basically for the Gen 24 Plus, it's very easy to remember, because the Gen 24 Plus is not available with the biggest HVS and the smallest HVM. Other combinations are all possible, and please just keep this in mind if you want to install at the customer site, or if you plan a battery storage, that you check these compatibilities in advance for the inverter type you are preferring. Also, the charging and discharging power with Fronius is slightly different. So that's another point I want to give you today. Because, of course, all different battery types, that the BYD battery is a modular system, so which each module, of course, the voltage is rising, and therefore with the bigger batteries, you have, of course, higher discharge and charge currents. I think that's very clear to see. What is possible to the max, that might be of interest. So it's up to 9 kilowatts with the HVS battery. So HVS 10.2 kilowatt hour storage capacity. You have the 9 kilowatt charging and discharging power with our Gen 24 Plus, and with the full extension of the HVM battery, 22.1 kilowatt hours, you also have the 9 kilowatts charging and discharging power with Gen 24 Plus Cymer. For the Primer, there is also, of course, respectively for next year of high interest when there is finally the product launch. So it will come around about calendar week 12 or 13, 2021, when we will launch the Primer Gen 24 Plus device. That's important. And why Fronius and BYD? So I told you before that we have a very, very strong and reliable partnership on that. And at the beginning of the year, we have had an energy storage inspection. So potentially some of you know about this already. But of course, there we really had a very, very great result. So we received the first place at this energy storage inspection of the HTW in Berlin. So that's a university which is mainly dealing with renewable energies. And we participated the first time, and we reached the best result of all time. That means we had 94% overall efficiency in this storage inspection. You see us here at the top, and we are, of course, very, very proud of this result. And this, of course, underlines the great compatibility of Fronius and BYD battery box, and of course of our Gen 24 Plus device. Yes, and one question I also want to point out in advance. So often I get the question also during my trainings, how to optimally size your battery. So what's the best battery size you cannot take? So on this point, I can give you, I would say, a rough rule of thumb, which is quite applicable. That means if you want to size the battery for your customers, you have to first of all look at the load profile. That means we differentiate here between two different load profiles. On the one hand, it's a family, and on the other hand, it's an employed person, family, whatever. With the family load profile, we all the time have in mind that there is much higher self-consumption. That means that the family is at home during the day, for example, cooking during the day, and therefore we have got a higher self-consumption. Therefore, we would need a rather low battery. And for the employed load profile, we just take into consideration a person who is working in office 9 to 5 or something like that, and therefore its main energy consumption is during the morning or evening hours. And therefore you just have to look at the annual electricity consumption, which is around about 8,000 kilowatt hours. You take the kilowatt peak of the PV generator, which is built on the roof of the customers, and then you basically calculate it by the factor 1.2 for the family and 1.5 for the employed person or family profile, and then you receive the battery storage capacity in kilowatt hours roundabout, I would say, but that's a basic rule of thumb. which fits to the greatest extent and which gives you, of course, a good impression or a good first estimation if your customers are asking for the battery size, which is, of course, economically feasible to the greatest extent. Okay, so much to the battery sizing, and now we really look into detail about the applications. So what is possible with Fronius? Therefore, we have pointed out different applications. So basically, we really recommend you, if you install at the customer side a new PV system and the customer is at the moment not willing to have a battery storage solutions, but he doesn't exclude it for the future years, 1 to 3 years. Therefore, we strongly recommend you to, of course, be future-proof and install a Gen 24 Plus device in advance, because with this inverter, you have got then all the time at later stage the possibility to add a battery storage to it. You are 100% future-proof. So that's the scheme, how it basically looks like. You have here the primary Fronius smart meter, so which sits directly behind the utility meter and is communicating via a Modbus line. So that's the communication path to our Fronius inverter, and you are therefore supplying the loads. If you then add, for example, a battery, or the application 2 would be a DC coupled battery storage, and that is the solution which is, of course, the Fronius storage solution, a DC coupled high voltage battery storage, which is directly connected to the inverter. You see here we are communicating again via Modbus, and with BYD you need an additional plus 12 volt signal. I will come to that later on. But what is, of course, the advantage due to the high voltage and the direct DC coupling? We can, of course, guarantee the highest efficiencies. So just remember the energy storage inspection, we have had a 94% efficiency, so that's absolutely the top compared to our competitors, and that's the typically Fronius storage solution which is possible. Another modification or customer which is possible to realize would be backup power. So we see clearly the trend also in Austria and other regions that customers want to have also backup power, and therefore I can say this is 100% possible with our Gen 24 Plus device in combination with the BYD Battery-Box Premium. We can supply the entire household in case of a grid outage, and the scheme looks like this, like you can see here. Now you have got an additional backup power switch, so which is after the Fronius smart meter, which is commonly required by the grid operator, and therefore you have got this backup power switch to install. This is just here to ensure that the household is separated from the grid, so that there can't happen any feed-in during a grid outage, and this happens fully automatically, so the inverter detects this grid outage, and below 1 minute, around about 40 seconds, he then builds up his own grid and therefore can supply the entire household with real three-phase backup power. That's another possibility which you have got with Fronius and the Gen 24 Plus device, but also, of course, with our Cymo Hybrid, this is already possible. Another possibility would be AC coupling with the Gen 24 Plus device. So commonly customers have got an existing inverter, which must not necessarily be a Fronius inverter, can also be another brand, but therefore there is, of course, always the option to integrate the storage or the Gen 24 Plus at the AC side. That means AC coupling, you see here clearly, and therefore also connect the battery to it. That would be another application and an upgrade of an existing PV system. If the customers do not want to replace his existing inverter, this is an option we offer from Fronius, and which is also possible, of course, with our storage combinations. And also in such cases, it is possible to have a backup power switch. So in this case, you only have to be sure that in a backup power mode, that means if there is a grid outage, this existing inverter won't work, because we are then building up an AC grid with 53 Hertz with our Gen 24 Plus device, and that would be a knockout criteria for the existing inverter, because 53 Hertz is just too much, and therefore then you would only have this power of the battery available. But of course you can add here potentially also another PV generator if you want to have, for example, an extension plant, or you want to have you have still space on the roof. You can of course connect here another PV generator to the Gen 24 Plus device. Yes, and that's the solution we have now available. So that's the all-in-one new hybrid inverter solution from Fronius, the Gen 24 Plus series, which is finally out now for quite some months already. And here, just to remember, or just to give you a conclusion of what's the key facts I already mentioned. You see here the Cymo Gen 24 Plus is already out, so power classes 6, 8, 10 kilowatts free phase with 2 independent MPPT and 1 separate battery input, where we then of course connect the BYD battery. And outlook for next year, the Primo Gen, so that will be our one-phase hybrid inverter solution, power classes 3 to 6 kilowatts. Again, also 2 MPP trackers and 1 separate battery input, and which will be available in Q1, around about calendar week 12-13, which will then be fully available. And we have talked about this, about the backup power variants. So that's a feature we have got, you can use, of course, but there are, again, 2 options you can choose. So we have had the full backup I showed you in the schemes already, where you can supply the entire household, and you need this additional backup switch gear. But what is also very, very specific about the Gen 24 Plus series is the basic backup power function. So that's the PV point, which is standardized on board, 100% free of charge, and which also works even without a battery. That means this is a socket in your household where you can supply on a single phase 3 kilowatts to a max, depending on your current PV generator production. Coming a little bit more into detail about that in next slides. Just here this backup power. So I think I have had this already, these topics. So this is the first backup version we have. So we've got the full backup, I already mentioned, and then the PV point, which I want to get more into focus now. So basically the PV point is a socket in a household. So you can see it here, like on the picture. It's an own exit on the inverter. So on the AC side, you have a one-phase exit, which you can, of course, if you want, you can therefore install this socket, and then you can supply loads up to 3 kilowatts. That means this PV point is then only operating in case of a grid outage. So in normal grid-tied operation, the PV point has got no function. What is the big advantage of it? Of course, you do not need any backup switch components. That means there is no time-consuming additional installation required. You just have to install a socket and activate it in the wizard. If you do the initial commissioning of the inverter, and then your customers have got, in case of a grid outage, on one point within the household during daylight situation, a point where they can get energy, for example, recharging their mobile phones or plug in their fridge or yes, whatever. And this is the scheme, how this works, the PV point. So imagine there is a grid outage and you have got the Gen 24 Plus device with the PV point. So the battery is of course optional, you can have it, but it's not a must. And then you see here the energy from the PV generator, which is currently available, is directly given to the PV point and you can take their energy. If you have, of course, a battery installed, it would also recharge in case of such a grid outage. So you would have a completely independent system, even in the full backup version, but also for the PV point, you could even have this socket, this PV point available during nighttime. That would be possible. Okay, so much to the backup power variants of our Gen 24 Plus device. And what is really a must if you want to install such storage solution or energy management solution with Fronius in general is of course this Fronius smart meter. This is positioned at the feed-in point, so the primary smart meter is a prerequisite, and we therefore offer 3 different variants you can see here. So we have got a one-phase smart meter, 100 amps, a 3-phase one with 65 amps, the most common, I would say, for residential scale in Europe. And also for bigger applications, we have got a 5 kiloamps with external current sensors. You can see here, that's also the range. Maybe you know this smart meter already, so we have also launched here a new one. That's actually the new one, which should be already available in your market, and that's the new design. What are the difference to the old one? I would say here you can see the new one, the wiring, and on the right-hand side you can see the old Fronius smart meter. So what's different? Now we've got a touch display. So it's also the smart meter TS, that stands for touch display. The wiring is a little bit different. That means now you come in with the AC in is on the upper part of the smart meter, so phases and neutral and protective earth, and the AC out is here at the bottom. That means you go out here again. The communication terminal is here, so below the Fronius ellipse you can see here the communication ports from 7 to 12, where we connect the Modbus cable to it with 8, 9, 10, Modbus plus, Modbus minus, and ground. And please do not forget this terminating resistor, which has again to be set between 7 and 9. That's the terminating resistor at the end, the 120 ohms of the communication line. That's now different. The big differences you see here with the old Fronius smart meter, we had all the AC cabling at the bottom. That means all the AC in and the AC out. And now the former communication port was here at the top, ABC, and also the terminating resistor. You can see here between A and B, always between the plus and the minus here with the old Fronius smart meter. So that's the big differences. Might of you may become such a Fronius smart meter, the old one, because some wholesalers still have it on stock. But basically we have the new Fronius smart meter. Principally, there are no additional functions, so it's more or less the same if you've got the new Fronius smart meter or the old one. It's just a facelift. It's just a little bit different in cabling. We've received many feedback on that. It's easier to install and faster cabling, but basically it has got the same function. It's bidirectional meter, both of them, which give the essential information to the Fronius inverter. How it is connected to the pilot, that means to the communication card of the inverter. You see here again, this is the new one, the 65 amp version with the AC inputs and the AC outputs to the loads. And then we have got this Modbus plug, orange plug on the pilot, where you have got two options. So now we have got Modbus 0 and Modbus 1. That's just, please do not get confused by that. You can choose whatever you like, so it's both the same. For example, you can go from the smart meter to the inverter via Modbus 0, and then from the inverter to the battery via Modbus 1. That's possible, but you can also combine it like the Cymo Hybrid at one Modbus port, so that's both possible. That depends on what you prefer and what you want to install. Please be sure to terminate it correctly here on the smart meter, and also on the pilot we have got this termination switch, which is 0 or 1. If it's set on 1, that means that the termination resistance is set always on the end of the communication line. So much to the Fronius smart meter, but the wiring, what's essential here. One thing I want to also give you on the way is our Fronius Solar.web portal. I think you're familiar with that already. There is also some news on that. We have got a new design. That means we have got some new colors here, more fresh view. Also on the start page, on the bubble chart we can see here, and some new colors here in the energy balances on a daily basis and also on a monthly and yearly basis. Basically, the colors now make a little bit more sense. So yellow underlaid is now they consume directly. That means the energy which comes directly from the sun and is used in the household. Red, that's now associated to heat and is the Ohmpilot now, and the battery is now green. That means the energy which is stored in the battery. Just do not get confused. It might be a little bit unfamiliar at the beginning, but I'm very sure that all of us get quick familiar, and I think the colors make no more sense, and they are now they have no common approach, and which makes totally sense. And also we have got a new Solar.web app, which is also actually out. So you see lots of new stuff coming here from Fronius. So we have got a new app. So actually that's one of our 3 new apps we have got. And this is the Solar.web app. So that's principally for end customers, where they all the time have their PV system in their pocket. It's now fully compatible with Gen 24 Plus and also the Cymo Hybrid existing devices, also snap inverter for all Fronius products to say. And you see here 2 screenshots. So that's the starting page. You have here the current power flows, current energy flows, and also this views again on this energy balances daily, monthly, yearly. So just download it. It's in the App Store, Google Play Store, iOS Store, and it's again 100% free of charge. Okay, so much to the news in Solar.web, and a special topic I've integrated for today because it's commonly asked is how you connect a Fronius inverter now to BYD and how this is done correctly. So principally, we have had this pilot, this communication card already, so it's sitting in the middle of the Fronius inverter. So every Fronius Gen 24 Plus device is standardized equipped with this pilot, and this is of course our data communication card where all these multiple open interfaces are integrated, and also the BYD battery is then connected via this Modbus plug I will show you here. These are the cable connections at a glance. Again, maybe this I didn't show you so far. This is the PV point you can see here. So you see it's an on exit at the inverter. On the AC side, we have got this Vago clamps. That means this push-in spring clamps where you really can direct connect the cable with very fast installation process. That's also standardized, integrated, and important. But we will now look a little bit more on the data communication, how this looks like with the BYD. Principally, on the DC side, what is important, if you want to add this battery, you see here, there is this separate battery input. It's a black underlaid on this spring clamp. It's BAT plus and BAT minus, so that's more or less DC plus, DC minus, where you have the power path, the DC bus from the inverter to the battery, which is connected here at inverter side. For the communication, again, it's required a Modbus communication with BYD. So, and one additional signal, which is this V plus, you can see here, it's translated in plus 12 volts. So that's an additional signal which is compulsory to conduct if you wanna realize such system with the Gen 24 Plus and Fronius. That's important. And also for the Cymo Hybrid, I want to show you here, it's principally the same. So here it's only a little bit of classification. You see here it's D plus, D minus, and ground and plus. That means that's the plus 12 volt signal, but basically that's the same. That's only the prior version of the pilot. That's the data manager of the Cymo Hybrid, or hybrid manager, how it is called, the Cymo Hybrid, where you then connect the BYD battery to it. The termination resistance at the Cymo Hybrid is a little bit hidden, I would say. Just don't forget it. It's the 120 ohms you can set here on the data manager. Battery side, it's very easy. So I already did myself quite some installations with Fronius and BYD. So also from my personal experience, I can say this is very easy. So you see here the battery, it's more or less a plug and play solution. So you do not need any special tools. You just get cardboards where these modules are in it, and then you plug it together. Very simple connections. And at the top there is the BCU, that means the battery communication unit. And on the side you have got these connections where you then connect Fronius and BYD. So you see here the power path, DC plus and DC minus. That's what you directly connect on the DC side of the inverter, the cable. And then these are the communication ports with the inverter, where you have got now two different options I want to point out. So on the one hand, you see it here, you can cut a Cat5 cable on one end and plug it in and then connect the cable directly to the Modbus plug of the Fronius inverter. Or on the other hand, you can just use a 4-pole cable and use this communication terminal at the top with these pins where you can easily connect it. Please just be sure to always have the latest version of the quick start guide of BYD, so everything is described in here. But there was one error, so false printing at the very first BYD batteries. So if it doesn't work, please just download yourself the latest version of this connection possibilities for option A and option B. Of course, the option B would be the more convenient because it just cut it on one side and then do the cabling on the inverter on the Gen 24 Plus. And one thing in advance you have to do at the battery is to do the commissioning. So after plugging everything together, there is this BYD Connect app, which you also have to download. And there you have to configure the battery. So basically, these are 4 steps you can see here. Just tell the BCU whether it's a HVS, HVM battery, how much modules you have, what inverter type, and if it's an Fronius inverter, all the time choose at the end on-grid, on-grid, and of course the phase, in our case with the Cymer Gen 24 Plus, a 3-phase device. If all the wiring is done and the configuration of the battery, you do the initial commissioning of the inverter. And here is one step via the product wizard where you have to add this battery. So device configuration, components, so you have to add the components, and if everything is done correctly with the communication, it should pop up automatically. You just have to add it, and then you see here, you just have to confirm if you want to charge from producers of home grid allowed or charge from public grid. That's a recommendation I would give you. Just activate this because to avoid any deep discharging in case of winter months, charge from public grid is highly recommended, that you avoid any damages. So if you are a little bit uncertain, just leave it like this. These are the default values and add it this way. For the Cymer Hybrid, it looks a little bit different, but basically what is important is software updates. So if you have an existing customer who has got this Cymer Hybrid for 2 to 3 years already, or however, please do all the time in advance a software update. So we are, since August 2020, fully compatible with the new BYD Battery-Box HV, and then just connect yourself via this Wi-Fi access point to the inverter interface and look under the system overview where you have to find the battery. So if you have everything done correctly with the wiring, the battery should be detected automatically with the SOC value of 93%, and then save it. That's all the time very impossible. Please do not forget to save it afterwards. And for Fronius, the second app, so we have already had the new Solar.web app, and another new app we have got now available is the Fronius Solar Start app. So that should be really in your basic toolkit as an installer if you work with Fronius. So that's our new commissioning app. So also again for all Fronius devices. So just download it. It's called Fronius Solar Start. And you see here, you can set up your PV systems in a few minutes. Just choose the products, and then the app tells you automatically what you should do. And you just click through all steps. So it's also very, very easy. So we made it really easy to our installers. You just do not need any laptop anymore, just your mobile device. Please also be sure to all the time have the latest version of the Fronius Solar Start, and then you can do the commissioning for Gen 24 Plus, also for all snap inverters, Simo Hybrid, but also in future the Tauro, our new commercial inverter, or other components can be commissioned via this Solar Start app of Fronius. Good, and to energy management, just 2 slides how you can realize this with Fronius. So principally, PV systems are getting more and more complex, and also when it comes to storage, energy management, and so on, that's really advanced things you cannot do. With Fronius, that's of course everything possible. So with the Gen 24 Plus device, we are fully prepared for the future, and also this load management is easily possible already today. So just here a picture of a system with energy management. You can set individual priorities. For example, here you wanna at first use the excess energy in the battery, then you wanna store it thermally in the Ohmpilot, or if your customers also have the full sector integration, they also have a EV charging station at home, you can set the third priority to the wall box, which is installed and can also be, of course, controlled by the Fronius inverter, and to use the max of your own PV system to get the biggest self-consumption rates. And in Solar.web, this would look like this, basically. You see here battery. You can change these priorities anytime if you want to have at first your EV charged, so that's easily possible. And if you see it here in the production curve, that's very, very good. If you have, of course, this load management, you avoid these peaks outside in the evening hours. You can shift it into the production curve of the PV system, and of course you see it here clearly. Nearly 100% of your own produced energy is used within your PV system. Okay, the last few minutes I will just quickly jump over the thermal storage before we come to the end. So that was all about the battery storage. We also have, of course, the possibility to do a thermal storage with our Fronius Ohmpilot. So there we really can have a dynamic control of the surplus energy and really store it, for example, for any hot water application with our Fronius Ohmpilot. You see here on the scheme, it's again communicating via RS-45. Also another possibility with LAN, Wi-Fi, 1 or 3 phase is possible here. What can be connected to the Fronius Ohmpilot? So the most common application is this heating rod in a boiler, where you can of course create hot water, but also any other ohmic loads can be connected, like infrared panels, electric floor or wall heating is also possible. That's something you can do and connect to the Fronius Ohmpilot. It looks like this. So again, there is the possibility, what are the big benefits here with the Ohmpilot? You can, of course, up to 9 months in a year, you can avoid using your main heat source. That means you can prolong the lifespan of this main heat source and create your hot water exclusively with the Fronius Ohmpilot. And depending on your boiler size, it would also be possible to add 2 heating rods. That means one in the upper part of the boiler and the second one in the lower part of the boiler. And also a temperature sensor can be integrated, a PT1000, where you can control the energy or the temperature within the Ohmpilot, and you can easily We have got very various solutions for any type of boilers. It can be an integrated one or also an external one. That's easily possible. And therefore, I'm coming to the end. Yes, you see, with our Gen 24 Plus devices, so we are not only a manufacturer of inverters anymore, so we are really a system provider. So sector integration, that's the main topic here at Fronius. And it's with the Gen 24 Plus device, we are 100% future-proof. We have really the exact device which fulfills or which can realize this sector integration and this personal energy transitions for our customers. And we can fully cover all these sectors: heating, storage, consumer loads, and also mobility. We're prepared the best way with our Gen 24 Plus devices. Okay, coming to the end, one thing, also solar online support. This is the third app actually we have launched successfully this week. So just give it a try. One reminder, it's the Solar.web app, it's the Solar Start app, and also the Solar SOS app, which is an online support tool. It's a very advanced tool where we have got the possibility to direct manage your service processes with Fronius, and also order exchange parts, exchange inverters with your company. It's a very quick help. That means there is in-app communication with our technical support, and you have got the full overview of your orders at Fronius. So it's a very advanced app, I would say, with many features, and which completes, of course, our app portfolio. Now we are also in the after sales fully available with this Solar SOS app. Webinars and trainings. So thanks for your participation for today. We have got, of course, an extensive training schedule also planned for next year. Hopefully in presence form, but we are doing our very best also to cover these topics in a virtual area. That means Fronius Storage Energy Management we had today. This would be an exclusive training day where we really go one day really deep into this topic in our overall new 24 Hours of Sun Academy in Wales, or also on a global scale we offer various trainings in different countries. Just check out here our homepage, PV Trainings. If you can join a training near you, or you come once to Austria, to Wales, to our headquarters, to a live training. Good, but before I close now, I just want to unmute my colleague Hans for asking if we have received any questions so far. Hans, are you already available?
Yes, Sandro, thank you. I've just got two short questions. Actually, basically, the first question was about the battery size when using an EV in combination. So therefore, we recommend to ask the customer first how many kilometers he is driving per day. If it's less than, let's say, 50 kilometers or standard this driving distance per day, you could use just a bigger battery with about 5 kilowatt-hour bigger battery. That's usually good enough. If also the battery, also the PV system size should then be maybe a bit bigger, 3 to 5 kilowatt peak. More PV power is also good to have. So that's the one. And the second one was about the priorities, where to set the priorities. You will find in this, a startup wizard, you will also find the point energy management, or on the web interface of the Gen 24. And under energy management, you can find this load management, where you can set the priorities, battery, Ohmpilot, or load management, and you can set each of them to first priority, whatever you like. Yeah. Okay, that's it from my side. Sandro, back to you, and thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Hans. Yes, we have come to the end now. So thanks again for your participation. I wish you all the best. Have a successful day. And I hope we hear or see us very, very soon again here at Fronius. All the best. Take care and goodbye.